Welcome to Talk to Brazil with Tom Reaoch, the business connector to business in Brazil. Welcome to Talk to Brazil, the business connection, the world's first English language internet radio program about business in Brazil and the world since 2009, and now in podcast format. I'm Tom Reaoch, an American living in Brazil for many years and known as the King of Networking, and talking from my podcast studio in Campinas, São Paulo, Brazil. Today's guest is Manca Korelc, and she's talking to us from Ljubljana, Slovenia. And today we're going to talk about virtual connections and virtual networking. Manca is a LinkedIn trainer helping B2B companies and entrepreneurs using LinkedIn profiles and pages to boost marketing and increase sales. She's a LinkedIn local events co-host in Slovenia. She's a passionate lecturer about social selling and a lover of lakes. Manca and I are virtual LinkedIn connections. We connected a little more than 2 weeks ago after having seen her name and profile in another group of LinkedIn specialists in China, with Julian Siscard, he's from France, and Tamar Hila, she's from the U.S., but both living and working in Shanghai. So this is what I mean about virtual networking and global connections. So with that, Manca, welcome to Talk to Brazil.
Hi, Tom. Nice talking to you.
And just to help our listeners understand, the world is round, and we don't have to be in places to meet or talk to people. What I've been hearing recently from many people is the difficulty to adjust to virtual networking or virtual relationships now in the present world that we face. But my history has always been that. It's always been my point to connect to people. And what I want to do first, I always thank you for how fast it was for you to accept my connection, and we're here talking.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. It's really an honor and a pleasure to be hosting your podcast. This is really a power of LinkedIn and a power of virtual networking, and what the variety of things that can give us if we are open to networking online.
Now, tell us about Slovenia. How do people network in Slovenia?
Oh, Slovenia is a very small country. There are about 2 million people here, and which has its pros and cons, of course. But speaking about networking, I believe that not so many people are great at networking or are aware of how powerful that is. Even my case, when I've become an entrepreneur 3 years ago, I realized that I really need to start meeting people, to connect with people. And since am a LinkedIn trainer, LinkedIn as well is really kind of mentor for me to really know how powerful this is. And in Slovenia, this is offline networking is really easy, I can say, because we are so small. But there are still a lot of opportunities for us, for companies, for the employees in companies to really know the power of networking online and offline.
Now you say the offline is easy. Are business meetings, business meetups, business networking events common there?
Yes, there really are. Well, now during COVID times, of course not, but before that, I was really in a lot of business events, conferences, and they are quite common. And I'm as well a co-host, like you said, in my introduction of LinkedIn local events, which are meant to network, to meet new people in business and so on. And it's easy to meet a lot of people here, and to, in a few years, to meet the majority of people you should meet if you are in business here, since we are so small. But still, there are quite a lot of business events or conferences and network events. So I really like to attend those because meeting new people really give me not only business opportunities, but a lot of new knowledge, new inspiration, and so on. And that is really, really powerful for everybody, not just for us who are in entrepreneurship.
Right, that's true. Because in entrepreneurship, anything's possible, and the future is for everybody.
Yes, of course.
Now you have taken what you do now, you've taken online. So you are still helping companies and persons online.
Yes, during COVID times, I was, of course, using Zoom. I was doing those workshops one-to-one on Zoom, and it's becoming really common for us. But I'm as well back to offline workshops for the companies here. But in the future, I will work for the foreign companies online because it can be doable. And with Zoom or any other these programs, it's easy to see each other, to share screen, and so to share content. And it's really, I believe this is one of the really great things about this pandemic that helped us to really go out of our comfort zones of meeting in person, to really expand our opportunities and to really realize finally the digital. I've been in digital marketing for more than 12 years, and it's really in Slovenia. Sometimes it's hard for companies to realize how powerful that is, how powerful digital is, online marketing is for them. And we're still in the process of really empowering them, and I have the mission to empower them to how to use LinkedIn. And what is really important is that if you want to use LinkedIn correctly and powerfully, you really need to have that connecting mindset.
Right.
Yeah, it really is. With your competition, in my case, LinkedIn experts from from worldwide and so on. It's really powerful when you embrace that mindset that together is better or something like that. Yeah, that connecting really brings a lot of more opportunities. It's really powerful.
No, I agree with you, because what you just said is typical here in Brazil. The difficulty, most people and most companies tend to like the offline forum for meeting people, even though sometimes that's difficult. But what I mentioned before we started the recording, I started this thread, and I found you actually on a thread that I started looking for contacts in China last year.
Yeah.
Because one of my objectives here in Brazil, because there is a lot of Chinese investment coming to the country, and in the region where I am, Campinas, the city, we have many Chinese companies who are investing heavily. But the Chinese, too, they have a different approach to networking. They're very conservative in the way they expose themselves. It's very sometimes difficult to meet them. So I actually started trying to find and connecting to people in China. And on my LinkedIn profile, I also created a Mandarin language profile, even though I don't speak Mandarin, to help attract attention. But through all of that, I met persons who are in China, Chinese business persons, foreigners, expats who are there. And through one person, I met Julian. Then through Julian, Tamar, that I mentioned. And I connected to Julian on February 6th. In a very quick chat, I also interviewed Julian and learned that Julian had also lived in Brazil for a year. So it's once you connect to people, you start discovering things that are absolutely fantastic that you don't necessarily see. So I interviewed Julian in English on Talk to Brazil, in Portuguese on my other podcast, which is BBN Podcast. And then through Julian, I met Tamar. We connected the next day. She's an American. So we have a French person living in Shanghai, an American living in Shanghai, and both of them with a LinkedIn local events in Shanghai. So it was, that amazed me. Just that amazed me. It says, wow. And through that,
yes,
and following that thread they created another mechanism, a WhatsApp group. They shared profiles of other persons, and you were on that thread. You were on that WhatsApp. So that's where I found you. I says, wow, there's a person here. Who's Manca? Then I clicked on it, saw your profile. I says, well, here's somebody from Ljubljana, Slovenia. Where is that? And I saw your profile, saw what you were involved in. You were also a LinkedIn local events co-host. I said, that's amazing. I'm looking to China and find Slovenia. All right. But in the same sense, and through that, I sent you really a couple days ago an invitation to come and talk, and you accepted. I think that's amazing.
And that is amazing about online networking. Within a few clicks, you've gone from Brazil to China to Slovenia. And LinkedIn local events are the ones that connected me and Julian and Tamar and so on. So this is something that an Australian started. So in a few clicks, Anna McCafe, she started. Yes, she is the the person who started this local LinkedIn local events from Australia to Brazil to Slovenia to China in just a few clicks. And what's the most important thing in this conversation, I believe, or this topic, is that we just need to give the chance or to just give space within us to be open for this kind of relationships and connections, which is so powerful. And together worldwidely, we can really exchange different knowledge and experience and so on. And it's really powerful. For me, that is really something, one of the best things that happened in my career in the last 3 years as an entrepreneur. Beforehand, I was an employee in web agencies, and I didn't need to have that mindset like I need now. And this is the best thing from my career right now. So I would never go back because it's really, it opens up to so many people with so many knowledge and different. And beforehand we started recording, we had a chat and we exchanged quite a few tips on LinkedIn and so on. It's really, it's so powerful.
You mentioned two things. You said the connection mindset, which I agree. But before we started recording, you also mentioned, as an entrepreneur, you said you created an international mindset. And I think that's as important, because we do need, as you said you did, you have to reach outside your own country, right? International is international. Yeah. It's not local.
Yes. When I first started for 3 years now, almost 3 years, in October will be, I was simply local, and I still am. I still work for Slovenian companies. I forever I will be. But I started in these COVID times. I realized, we are all on LinkedIn. There's just a few clicks for me to go to Brazil, to go to America. I had a conversation with an American company, and it is really so powerful. But as I said, you need to decide first that you are open to this. Right. Nothing happens if without this proactively. Right. And like you said, to adjust LinkedIn profile, I did it. I started posting in English for 2.5 years. I was posting in Slovene only, and that's realized, nobody will understand what I'm saying. Right. I post a really good content about LinkedIn. I have this LinkedIn page, LinkedIn business page, that is strictly in English. That was the first step towards myself going international. Now I've combined to English into LinkedIn profile. Right. Well, to the content, which is another step towards going worldwide. But I believe that for I'm a solo entrepreneur, right? I work alone, and we really need to be kind of down to earth and knowing that I'm still a local entrepreneur working with the Slovenian companies, and I like to do that.
Right.
But on the other hand, with a certain amount of percentage of my time, I'm starting to do the activities I really like to connect, like I did with you. I start to proactively connect on LinkedIn with others from worldwide. So nothing happens if we, like I said, LinkedIn doesn't work if we don't work. And it's the same.
That's so true. That is so, no, seriously, I can't agree with you more. I say networking makes you work.
It's the same with the networking. It's the same with business. It's the same with... I always, when I do these workshops with my clients, I always say, how many times do you sign into your email? Oh, every day, twice a day, or 10 times a day, or all the time, right? Now, email wouldn't do magic for you if you wouldn't do that, right? We need to mail to work for us. We need to open it, read them, write emails, and so on. Always be on top what is happening in our inbox.
Right.
And the same goes with LinkedIn.
Right.
It doesn't work by himself.
Right. Or herself, right?
Or herself. Yeah. So it's really something I love to educate Slovenians for now, that it's really on my workshops, you need to do the work for LinkedIn to do work for you.
Right.
And we really need to be up to date what is happening. Now in June, the algorithm changed again, and we need to be up to date with those trends or those changes to really do, okay, now we have to perhaps adjust our content formats, put out longer posts and so on, because if we need to stay up to or be into newsfeed, which is harder and harder year over year.
And things change. You mentioned before we started recording that the changes, you said the recent changes through LinkedIn, they do make changes very quickly. And a lot of changes are going there. One thing I've noted, that even back to your point, what I see when you talk about connecting, people think the same thing about a light. You know, if they put the wire in the plug and they turn it on, it works, and they figure they're connected. Connecting to somebody on LinkedIn doesn't turn on the light. You have to work. You have to keep it active. You have to. So the
that's
network,
a great comparison.
the connection you need to interact with your connections. You have to say that if you see a post, you have to say that you like it, or you comment on it, or thank them, or say happy birthday, or whatever. But you have to keep it alive. It's just not there.
Yeah, because networking is all about relationships. And relationships, it's not only that we connect via LinkedIn, but that's the first step. The first step when we say, oh, hi, I'm Manca, I'm Tom, nice to meet you. But what happens after that really does the magic. Now we talk for the podcast. We were talking on mail or on LinkedIn. And what do we do after this podcast is we need to follow up. And this is something I needed to learn that. It was something that wasn't, I don't know, just within me. I didn't have that skill. I had a mentor who taught me that networking or business, not just networking, business in general, in B2B, we are talking about B2B, it's really in relationships. And LinkedIn is a tool that can help us with that, to follow up on scale. Sometimes it's hard to pick up the phone and call thousands of people to follow up, but we can post the content on LinkedIn to do that. It cannot replace,
one point that you just made, and many companies and many persons, they say they're B2B. It's business to business. But what I defend and say is that we are all, in all business really is P2P. That's people to people, person
people
to person.
People, or
because if you
human
send, like you said, email,
yeah.
if I just send an email out to companyabc.com, nobody's going to see it. If you don't send it to the name of a person, to John, Mary, whatever, it will never be seen. It'll be seen maybe by a machine. So our relationships, whether they're companies to companies, are always people to people. And what I defend, people, I would say all of the people that I know, almost all of them, through the course of their personal and professional life, have changed. People change companies, they change country. We're talking about Julian and Tamar. They're not even in their countries. They're in another country. So if we don't track the person, as LinkedIn does, LinkedIn tracks people. It tracks the professional. So we follow, and I follow professionals. LinkedIn tells me when somebody changed jobs. LinkedIn tells me when somebody's promoted, tells me when somebody has a birthday. And so it's the personal level of people who are in companies. And that's, I think, that the greatest thing I get from it.
Yeah, but I believe that the biggest opportunity where I see it is that one thing is the entrepreneurs, right? We are really kind of forced to go out to the market to talk to people. But for the employees, I usually work for the companies, for the teams within the companies, right? There are employees.
Right.
They have a logo behind them. They have a name of the company behind them. And most of the times that is really kind of limitation, because they are not aware that they should go out themselves, like just normal John, let's say, not John from abc.com, but just John. And that is why I'm trying to teach them how to use LinkedIn. It doesn't matter where you work. It doesn't matter what the color of that logo is, because in relationships, we go with people. If you change job, it doesn't matter for me. I will stay in touch with you because of your Tom, and we met, and so on. And that is the really big opportunity for the employees within the companies, to use the power of network, and that's about social selling, how to build personal brand, although they are not, they are employed, right? And here in Slovenia, I sense that kind of fear can be, what will my boss say if I open up on LinkedIn?
Right.
And the boss said, what will happen? Somebody will headhunt them and will steal them from our company. These are I get those questions all the time. And I say, okay, if somebody wants to go on another company, you have somewhere in HR challenges, you have not the LinkedIn challenges, but still but here in Slovenia, we have international mindset, but we are shy in general. Here in Slovenia, because of the history, for us, it's the biggest value is to be good, to be really, to do good and to be business and so on. But it's not so great in general to really show up. Like I do, for example, to show up, to put out content. It's not like, I get positive feedback, but still, it's I don't know, it's perceived really brave to do that. It's not something that it's normal, if you know what I mean.
No,
so
Brazil
to
is the same
go
way.
out,
Brazilians are timid, they're shy, and they think that if you try to show off yourself, that's not good. It's not acceptable.
Yeah, or you're too self-promotional and so on. Well, my mission is to help people. I do self-promote because I want the companies to know me and to realize that I can help them with my services. I don't do self-promotion just for the sake of the self-promotion, right?
No, I agree. You are an excellent example because I'm looking at your company page. I'm looking at your site on LinkedIn. I'm looking at your company page. And looking at the page, right off the top, it says tips for LinkedIn profiles and pages. And then it says follow, learn, use, and share. And then there's a very nice arrow pointing to your name. And that's important. And I want to spell your name for our listeners. Manca is actually Manca, and the last name is Korelc. So that's Manca, Korelc. And it says she's a LinkedIn strategist. That's the deal, with a very nice picture. And what you see is what you get. And I think it's, I want to say simple in the sense that it's not complex. The message is very clear. What it is, who it is, and where it is clear. It's crystal clear. And that could be for a person, that could be for a company, that could be for anything. You can also put too much, but you need to put the right words in the right place.
Yes. And what is the most important thing about social selling on LinkedIn is the mindset of giving. You read the tagline, right? I've been active on LinkedIn for almost 6 years now. And almost every week I post one piece of content, which is to give knowledge, to help. And my business LinkedIn page is all about LinkedIn tips. All about, if you follow my page, you are up to LinkedIn changes. I will post now about algorithm. I just needed to really understand what has changed. I will post it next week. And this is something that is really, to use LinkedIn correctly is the same as doing business offline. It's just the same. We need to start relationships. We need to give. We need to ask people, how can I help? What can I give you to help you? And it's not only about those money transactions, right? It's about relationships first. And I love LinkedIn for that it helps me to meet a lot of people and to connect them. I do that constantly. When I meet two people and I realize, you two should meet. I connect them via LinkedIn or SMS or mail, whatever. This is something, but LinkedIn taught me that, right? LinkedIn taught me that, and I've been following for years now other LinkedIn experts or branding experts and social selling experts and so on, and I've been learning from them. And this international, if we talk about in general, international for me means to be really open, much more than here in Slovenia. And this is something I've been learning proactively on my own. So I realized I don't have enough of this international mindset, and I've been changing that. And it's really, LinkedIn helps me with that, because I realized if you want to really get all the benefits from it, you should be in that mindset. And I've been following LinkedIn experts. They have interviews among them, competitor to competitor, and that is something that is really powerful for me. Why not? We're not competitors. We can give each other tips or tricks and so on. So it's really, to give is something, well, not everything, of course, but to give these tips and tricks for LinkedIn or whatever you do, it's really important. And with that, you build credibility, and with that, you build trust, which is the most powerful. Trust is the most powerful word when we talk about business. And this is how I started. I started 6 years ago for the first time for my entrepreneurship, for a year only. And when I started, I realized, okay, nobody knows me. I need to start showing up. Really, it was just like that. How can anybody hire me if no one knows I even exist? because I was never on any conference, any business event. So that's how I started
and
to
now
post
you're everywhere
online.
in the whole world. You're everywhere.
Yes. And but that is not yet everywhere. Yeah.
No, but what I want to say, and for our listeners, what I always say, if you want to sell something, first you have to buy it. And what you have just said, you have obviously bought what you sell. And you have used what you bought, and you applied what you bought to yourself. And
I strongly believe in LinkedIn.
I've just come to the conclusion over the last 30 minutes that I don't need to know 2 million people in Slovenia. I need to know one, and that one is you. And this is the same thing like other places. We think, well, how can I approach a market? How can I approach the world? How can I do anything? It's knowing. It's not how many people. I think even connecting and networking, I defend it's not about quantity. It's all about quality.
Yes, of course.
Definitely are a quality person. And I could suggest that now we're talking about virtual connections and online service. You can offer your service to the whole world. We don't have to go to Slovenia or you don't have to go to China. They just have to connect.
Yes. Well, here in Slovenia, where we're talking about that international mindset, since we are such a small country, we have quite a few organizations, business organizations that are linked to the whole world, right? So there are, of course, quite a lot of people that are really into networking and into connecting worldwidely. But when I talk in general, we have so much more to come. So many opportunities. But like you said, that is really a good point. We don't need to know everybody in a certain country, but only one that can we can connect through LinkedIn, and that one person can connect the other person that we need. Perhaps I am a LinkedIn expert. I cannot help with other services, but I know quite a lot of people, I know people that know people. that is a power of networking, right? I know people that know people that know people, and so on. So this is the power of networking. And quite a lot of people call me and ask me, Manca, do you know a person that can help me with a website or with the Facebook ads and so on? And I do, or I know people that know people, right? And so this is the power of connection. And with online, with virtual networking, we are just a few clicks away. It's just we need to decide and be open to that. That is the first step, and from that on, LinkedIn helps.
And the click helps. Well, Manca, I want to thank you. We're coming to the end of our time.
Already.
But I am so fortunate and so happy. And now I can say that I know you. And I had this feeling before we talked, but obviously what you did say, and I want to highlight that, the word trust. And trust comes from, just in our case, looking at a LinkedIn profile, analyzing what's there, I sent you a very brief message and you answered very quickly. The trust starts with just a few words. It doesn't have to be a book. It can be just the fact of connecting. It can be openness like you did and you shared.
Yes.
And for what you're doing right now, sharing yourself and your time with our listeners, that's very important.
Yes. Well, just a few steps can be to the trust. First is LinkedIn profile. Of course, it needs to be updated, optimized, and so on. And the second thing is the way we message each other. I believe that is something that we really need to learn how to do, just to be, I don't know, I always respond quickly. I always thank you, thank person, or so on. And it's just something that to be grateful and to be happy to have that opportunity. And I really am grateful and happy for your invitation to this podcast, for me to be able to share some of my knowledge, my experiences, and I'm really happy with this talk.
And I'm sure our
Although
listeners...
it was a short one.
No, but there's a lot that we can cover, but what we needed to cover, you did. But I'm sure I, too, am grateful. I'm happy, and I know our listeners are as well. And this is going to lead to many more and strong, trustworthy relationships. So thanks again for being with us.
Thank you, Tom. It was a pleasure.
And I want to remind our audience, you can find out more about Manca Korelc, and I'm going to spell her name again for you. It's Manca Korelc. You find her on LinkedIn. And her name is also her LinkedIn company page. I'd like to thank our audience and our sponsor, Focus MI Market Intelligence. Focus MI specializes in market research for the Brazilian agricultural market. More about them on their site, which is focusmi.com. You can visit our website, which is talktobrazil.com, find our previous shows of the Talk to Brazil podcast, and they're also available on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, and many more. So remember, when you talk to Tom, you talk to Brazil and the world. Goodbye, and thanks for listening. Thanks for listening to Tom Reaoch on Talk to Brazil, the business connector to Brazil.